This is Rising Phoenix Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Rhodes. This podcast is for men struggling with an unwanted divorce. I interview experts on divorce, mental health, and I provide insights gained from my own divorce journey. You are not alone. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the show. This is episode 208. This is a solo one, and it's going to be a continuation of Dating Chronicles, which was super fun to record. Of course, we're going to talk about these new locations first. And speaking of first on the list is Alvarado, Texas. You listen to episode 49, which is with Shane Creato. He's a sleep doctor. That was a long time ago, but that was one of my. I enjoyed that one. One of my favorite episodes. I think. I don't know. It's definitely up there. Next on the list, Woburn, Massachusetts, episode 174. Being single beats bad relationships, ? That was Professor Sebastian. That was a good one. I definitely enjoyed that one. Next on the list, Jackson, Wisconsin. You listened to episode 176, which was Midlife Crisis with marriage expert Larry Bellata. Another favorite of mine. I believe that one's definitely up there. Last, not least, Cortland Manor, New York. You listen to 186, Eating the Blame, Dr. James Cordova, another one of my favorites. This list, this is a good list. I hope those of you from those locations that listened to that episode enjoyed those. Those are definitely some of my favorites. I keep thinking that one of these years I'm going to do like a March Madness type of thing with the podcast. And in the Discord or the Facebook group, or I guess both, and pick like that. Probably not 64, or is it 64 they start out with? I used to love the Tar Heels when I was growing up, but I don't follow college basketball anymore. So I've been thinking about doing that. Maybe I'll do it this year. Speaking of sports, you obviously don't tune into this podcast for your sporting news or information, but I'm going to talk about it briefly because I had an amazing time last night, Sunday night, January 4th, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at the Steelers-Ravens game, which was fucking amazing. Sorry if you're a Ravens fan, it wasn't so amazing for you, but what a fucking crazy game. What a blast me and my oldest daughter went, sorry. And it was just, wow, just amazing. Really, really good time. So shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're now in the playoffs. So this one's going to be a continuation, like I said, of the Dating Chronicles. And I'm going to start off with the disclaimer that I used last time. If you are less than a year out from separation and or divorce, which I guess can be tricky, let's at least say separation, don't be dating. Just don't do it. Just don't. You can listen to the last episode, and I think it's pretty obvious that I made a lot of mistakes for you, so you don't need to make them. All of that said, let's move on to, so that, if I remember correctly, in episode 207, I covered years 1 and 2. And to the best of my Swiss cheesed brain ability, I will cover years 3 and 4. I'll try to talk about sort of lessons learned, where I was at, all those kinds of things. Again, as best that I can remember. So, year 3, I want to, and I can't promise you that the order of these are exact, but I think so. Fairly early on in year 3, well, it was around the February-March timeframe, so maybe it was like 3 years and a couple of months ish, 4 months maybe, something like that. I met someone on, I think, Facebook dating, if I remember correctly. We'll call her Cynthia because I can't think of any fucking other name. I don't know why that one just popped in my head. She was a beautiful, beautiful woman. Probably the best first date I ever had. Just it was a really good first date. We had dinner and we hung out for hours just talking in my car. No sex was had, in case you're curious. But at least on that particular date. But it was great. I think I was in a much better place. I wasn't interested in my kids finding out, in hopes that they would sort of leak it to mom. I had no interest in that. By year three, I was like over my pettiness, over my I'm doing this to get back at her type thing. I didn't have any desire to for her to find out, and I still don't. Actually, it's more. I mean, I don't, but it's more about the kids. I don't want the kids knowing anything, only because I don't want to be constantly bringing people in and out of their lives. Not that I'm fucking dating a lot, but you understand what I'm saying. So Cynthia and I dated for about a month and a half. I think that's a bit of a theme for me. It seems like things only last about that long. And it was fun. She was sweet. She baked my oldest daughter's 13th birthday cake. She delivered it to the event space. Um, my daughter did not see her. It was a surprise party, so my daughter and I were the last to get there. I seen her after when she was out in her car, so my daughter never met her or anything of that nature. It's something that she enjoyed doing. She did a great job, actually. It was a really good cake. Really, it looked really cool. Problem with that situation was she lived about an hour away, and again, to be transparent, and I don't think she listens, so I'm not worried about hurting anyone's feelings or anything. She had 4 kids, and that is a lot of kids. I have 2, obviously, and I'm okay with 2, maybe 3, 4 seems to be a bit much. And they were mostly younger, if I remember correctly. I think there was 1 teenager, and I think the rest were 9, 10, 11, 7, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I decided that after about a month and a half, I decided that it just wasn't clicking for me. Some of it was the distance. An hour isn't, I mean, I was dating someone that uh, I needed a fucking plane ride to get to, but an hour's drive a couple times a week felt a bit taxing to me at a certain point. So that, and there was just a disconnect. It just, we didn't click. The great first date, but beyond that, it just didn't click. I think I was ready at that point. I think I was healing. I wasn't as bitter and angry. I was well into the podcast. I don't remember. I remember doing a pre-interview at her house with someone. This was before I joined the my current job, so maybe I don't know, in the 50s, 60s, episode wise. I'm not sure. I'm completely guessing on that front, but I think I was in a good headspace, and I was in good enough headspace to be like, this is not working out. It's just not clicking for various reasons. And very sweet girl, very nice girl. Never had, I mean, we had one sort of, I wouldn't call it a fight, but disagreement. And that did factor in, but it was just sort of like a confirmation. But all in all, I think I was doing well. And it was nice to be in something with someone and it not be for any other reason than enjoying someone's company, enjoying being with someone, not to try and spite my ex-wife or anything of that nature, who actually I don't think even at that point she was my ex-wife. I think we were still technically married. So that was Cynthia. Again, month and a half ish is how long it lasted. Ended amicably. It was, I don't think this is going to work, but I wish you the best. And she said the same. She didn't disagree. And that didn't hurt me. It wasn't like I was like, how could she not try and change my mind? Or it just, I didn't need that. I don't need that. What I needed was my own feelings and confirmation that this isn't for me. And so that felt good. you don't ever intend, I don't ever intend on breaking up with anyone or anything of that nature. But when you're going through this and you're so sensitive and distraught and looking for comfort, and then if you potentially get it and then lose it, it can really, really hurt. But it was my choice. That's true. She was okay with it, which obviously suggests that she was in the same headspace as me, and that didn't bother me. It was okay. It wasn't meant to be. So that was her. All in all, a good experience. I don't have anything bad to say about her. If she reached back out, I would talk to her, but not in a kind of a, romantic kind of way. Um, so anyway, that was her. I am sure there were other dates in those 2 years, and maybe there was one other person. I'll get to her, but I'm sure there was a series of one-offs, but I hope I don't forget anything. I probably should have sat down and really thought about this. I mean, I have been thinking about it, but I didn't write anything down. The next one that pops into my head, what am I going to call her? Let's call her Jane. I don't fucking know why. Jane, I met on a dating app, Zoosk. Very pretty girl. Yeah, I guess I point that out a lot, but that, I don't know, I like pretty girls, but she was very pretty. Only one kid who was older. She was divorced. I forgot to say that about Cynthia. She was also divorced, obviously. Again, I think it was a month and a half. We went on, I think, 3 dates. She spent a weekend at my place, and that's kind of where it fell apart. I'm trying to figure out how much I should really say about this. There's some fellas that know this story and know this person. Jane liked to drink. Jane was drinking me under the table, and that's no small feat. I'm very much a social drinker, and when I drink, I like to drink, but she was excessive. And it definitely bothered me. Now, I think perhaps I am, my radar for red flags is perhaps maybe too sensitive. I don't know. She spent a weekend here, and it became very obvious she really enjoyed drinking, to the point where she basically threw a bit of a fit when we ran out of booze, which was obviously a giant fucking red flag. You know if you guys have ever seen that guy on social media. I can't remember what his name is, but he's the guy who he has the red flags. Like he plays other videos and then runs around on his scooter with red flags and shit. He's pretty funny. But anyway, that was a giant fucking red flag to me. Obviously, she was very upset by the fact that we didn't have any alcohol. And like I said, I'm a fan of drinking. I love to drink. I used to be, I think I've calmed down in my older age, the shots guy. Like if I was around a group of people at a bar, we were doing shots. I didn't give a fuck. That's fun to me. I don't do it anymore. I mean, I do shots on occasion, but I don't seek that out. That's just not as big a part of who I am. I'm not saying I'll never do it again, but it's just not as big a part of who I am anymore. So that was a pretty big red flag, and I kind of brought it up, and that really, here's what I said. Has anyone ever called you an alcoholic? And that obviously did not go over well. There's probably better ways that I could have said that, but that's what I said. And that upset her, and that caused her to basically be like, I don't think this is working. At least that's my view. She was supposed to say that whole weekend. And then Saturday night, when she threw her fit, and I asked her if anyone had ever called her an alcoholic, the next morning, she left like pretty quickly. That wasn't the plan. We were going to do brunch or breakfast. I don't remember what exactly, maybe even lunch. I don't remember the plan, but the plan wasn't for her to leave. And she did. And I kind of had a feeling at that point, like this is probably not going anywhere. And I was more than okay with it. And in fact, I think I remember correctly, I brought this up on a podcast episode and she heard it or watched it on YouTube and get it. I can't confirm that it was her, but someone gave me a thumbs down on the video where I discussed this particular incident. Not in so much detail. At least I don't think so. But I again, I don't wish her any ill will. Same as Cynthia. Hope she's happy and all that kind of good stuff. She was a nice girl. She's again very pretty. She also about an hour away, and I think that would have wore on me as well. But ultimately, it didn't work out. And where was my head at? Again, I don't think I was looking. No, I was not looking for my children to find out about her. In fact, I remember the Saturday that she stayed here, Friday night and then Saturday morning, I wanted to move her car out of my driveway because I knew my kids and I didn't really care about their mother, but the kids were going to be driving by and see a car in my driveway. And I wanted to move the car. I didn't do it in time, unfortunately. And so they seen the car and there was questions and it was fine. I explained it all away and whatnot, but that it was a friend that was hanging out or whatever. But so I didn't want the kids to know. They left. If I remember correctly, my little one was going to horseback riding and they left a little earlier than I anticipated. So it was not intentional. I didn't want them to know. So I wasn't again, I'm not coming from a place of trying to hurt my ex or whatever. I don't give a fuck about that. So I don't think there was anything other than just wanting to, connect with someone and be with someone. It didn't work out and it didn't really negatively impact me. I think it annoyed me. I should say that. I shouldn't say it didn't negatively impact me. I think it annoyed me for various reasons. More than anything, I think it was the beginning of this, and I mentioned this last time, this sort of theory I have, the good ones are taken type of thing, but I'm not taken. So that mean I'm not a good one, but I think the number of people working on themselves is probably fewer than should be, or fewer than it would be good for the world if there were more folks working on themselves. And I think that started to make me think about, well, this is a very pretty girl who's obviously got some issues, and don't we all? But what is her motivation to work on herself? Because she is a very pretty girl. Like, there's not going to be a shortage of guys trying to be with her. If that's the case, and I think that's the case for a lot of single women, I think they have it easier than we do as single men. And I think that's just, if they're somewhat attractive, I think that's fact. I don't have figures. I don't have numbers. I don't have surveys. But I believe that to be true. If anyone does have any of those things that discounts what I'm saying, I'd be more than happy to read it and check it out. But that was the genesis, I think, of me starting to think like, in a way, the game is rigged. Not necessarily in their favor, just in that it sucks. It's just, if you're an attractive female and you're deciding that you want to end your marriage, then therefore you don't see yourself as part of the problem, part of the equation of why it went wrong. And you could parse it out and be like, it's 30% her fault, or who knows. Either way, if a relationship ends that you've been in for a period of time, then the ending of that, you have to take some kind of accountability for that occurring. Even if you're the one leaving because you're not happy, that relationship, that marriage broke down and you're a part of it. Not saying that it's all your fault, obviously, But there was some missteps, some degradation of abilities, of skills around relationships, whatever it is. You were a part of that. Your ability to have a good relationship isn't rock solid. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do, but to me that's true. And so therefore, if you do no work on yourself, then you're doomed to repeat patterns of the past. You're doomed to have failed relationships. And I think especially if you see yourself as not the problem, then when people do come around and they're not perfect, because no fucking buddy is, and then they fuck up a little bit or whatever, you're ending it because you're not the problem. It's the other person. And I worry that that is what is going on in today's modern dating world. Not only is it, the desire to, or the lack of desire to not work on yourself, there's also this lack of interest in building something because you just got to find the right person. Even though you're doing nothing to develop yourself to attract the right person, right? You're repeating your past patterns. And so if I do some work on myself and I learn how to be better in a relationship, and I come along and I don't fit that pattern, then I'm going to be rejected. Because I've done some work. I know, well, I think I have a little bit better idea of how to be better in a relationship, and you've done nothing, then we're not going to be compatible. And that's scary and frustrating and all those kinds of things. All I can do is keep hoping, keep trying, keep looking, keep dating, but also maintaining my standards, my resilience, my desire, and my hope, I guess, more than anything. I hope I can find a good partner. I don't think in the entire part of the problems where I live, but I don't think in the entire world I'm the only person working on themselves in order to have a better relationship. I have to believe that even if someone is a leaver, even if someone is the person that decided to end a marriage, that they're also not cognizant or conscious of their own faults, and they're working on those too. Hopefully that person exists. Do I know for sure? Obviously not. But so far it hasn't gone that way. But you never know. I continue to swipe on Facebook dating. I don't have fuck those dating apps, but it is a way. But I'm not paying those motherfuckers another fucking dime. I'm not even signing up for any of them. Fuck them. I mean, in terms of like Bumble or Hinge, or I think I have a Hinge account. But the problem with Hinge is I live in the middle of no fucking where, and so very rarely does anyone even come up, and so much so that I don't bother with it anymore. But I do have a profile. I don't have a Bumble. I deleted that fucking thing. I don't have Tinder. I deleted that a long time ago. Match, same. The only one I have is Facebook dating because there is an ease to it because I'm on Facebook, the app already any fucking way. So anyway, I can't think of any other people or situations that are worth mentioning. There were definitely some one-offs. I'm sure of that. But don't think there's anything of significance. So I guess the theme, if you will, of your years 3 and 4 is growth. Obviously, it's having enough worth to reject things that aren't good for me and to be okay with being rejected by things that aren't good for me. That my value and my worth doesn't come from who chooses me. It comes from within. This is work I'm still doing. There is a core of me, and I'm going to expand on this a little bit, this particular topic, me, with a therapist. And I think I've been in contact with a therapist. I think we're going to explore me a little bit on maybe a series of episodes. I have to work out all the details, but I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to be very I'm going to be very vulnerable, probably talk about some childhood stuff. I'm not exactly excited about the depth of the vulnerability that I think may come, but I am excited to get it out there in terms of giving other folks hope that if they have these things, they have these experiences from childhood, these emotions, these feelings, these attractions, these desires. I'm going to try and explore some of that. My hope is people will hear it and it will give them permission to do the same thing. Obviously, not necessarily not a podcast to thousands of people in the world, but just to their therapist in order to work on healing themselves. I think that was my point is, I'm trying to heal. There is a core part of me that is wounded, but I've also, over the last 6 years, taken the time to build up the other parts of me to counteract that part. So in other words, I think this was my point, that there is a core of me and of all of us to varying degrees that gets its worth from the acceptance of other people. I think that's normal and natural. I think some of us are more sensitive to that. It's more exacerbated because of our wounds of childhood, because we never felt like we were enough, not good enough, not lovable, all those kinds of things. I think that exists within all of us for sure. Again, to varying degrees. But the work, people ask us all the time, how do I do the work? Where does the work? And it's very multifaceted and it's complex. But one of the other parts I think that I've discovered is that building up these other parts to reassure, strengthen, comfort that core part of us that doesn't feel like it's good enough. Those parts of mine are active. Those parts that say, no, you're not a fuck up. Yes, you are a good father. Those parts work very hard. And I hope someday they don't have to work as hard, but they do, and they do their job and they do it well, because I know that I'm not a piece of shit. I know that I'm not a worthless person. I know that I have worth. And that is what the work gives you. It allows me to feel good about myself, not based on who swiped right on me, not based on who decided they would go with me on a date, but because I know without a shadow of a doubt that I am a good person. Because we all are. We all have intrinsic value because we're human, because we have breath, because we have blood running through our fucking veins. We have worth, and it doesn't come from other people. So if you're going to dive into dating, make sure you do some of that work so that hopefully not when, if you are with someone and it goes south, if in terms of like, not if you find someone, hopefully you will, but if it goes wrong, not when. When, hopefully, is you find someone. But if it goes wrong, you're able to weather the storm a little better, or I don't want to say perfectly, but pretty damn well. So much so that it doesn't leave you feeling less than because someone rejected you. That's all I got for this one. I will finish up this series next solo episode, and I believe we'll be getting back to interviews. I do think I have some in the can that are worthy. At least one, maybe three. I have to go through them. But I'm working on, I have one scheduled and I have a slew of others that I'm just trying to get scheduled. Like, I've been in contact with folks. So there's more content coming. So stay tuned. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you are feeling alone on this journey, please join our Discord server. Becoming a Phoenix is not a solitary act. It is one achieved through community. Our Discord server is just that, a community of men fighting to survive, thrive, and rise from their divorce. Go to risingphoenixpodcast.com/Discord for information on how to join and what is contained in our Discord server. Please join us.